But as we look at the Magnus machine and his 10-year reign of the world championship title, Anish, it still sometimes doesn't add up in my head that no, Magnus is not going to be the world champion after this match concludes.
Yeah, we'll have to get used to that, and that's been the case before in history. It's not the first time. We don't have to look too far back. The last time that happened is when Magnus was world number one already for a few years, and
Mm-hmm.
the world champion was still Vishy Anand, who is a legend of chess, a
Mm-hmm.
great player. Certainly was the world number one at some point at various points probably in his career. But
Magnus is
towards the end of
something
his reign
else.
as world champion, Magnus was growing up, uh, both in terms of his rating, but also literally growing up. He was quite early the party, and he was maturing as a player. And already it was clear by the time we speak year 2010, 11, 12, Vishy was the world champion. Magnus was the world number one, and everybody knew that, best player in the world, probably Magnus. He was winning most of the tournaments. He had by far a high rating. But Vishy was a world champion. He was a legitimate world champion. And world number one and the world champion were two slightly different, entirely different people. And that is okay. That happened. And in history before, it happened many times. In fact, even when Kramnik has beaten Kasparov, he has proven that he is a legitimate world champion. He literally beat Kasparov in an incredible match. Played many tournaments. Kasparov remained world number one. He won most of the tournaments. He was the best player in the world by all these objective metrics.
True.
It was Kramnik who was beaten him and became the world champion. So such things occur in history. And we also had the case of Fischer, who walked away from chess entirely while being at the peak. So nothing entirely new, but certainly something we'll have to get used to, because indeed, for the past 10 years, we've had the best player in the world and the highest rated player in the world all in one, and the one with the best haircut as well. So it was just Magnus all over, and now we have to get used to some other people running the show.
True. I mean, that's generally pretty true. I mean, Magnus is the best chess player in the world. I mean, the problem is that when Magnus was number one and Vishy was world champion, that was a very short period in time. And we kind of knew that Magnus would be world champion, but now Magnus is like 50 points ahead of the next highest rated player. So it's really, and he's not retiring like a lot of world champions did. So it is kind of weird. And I mean, I don't think we can just move on and pretend that everything is fine. I'll be honest. I don't think we can. I think Magnus is either going to have to play again or FIDE is going to have to change the format. That's the simple reality. I don't think there's any world where we end up in a situation where you're the world number one player for like many years who's dominating tournaments and he's not the world champion. I don't think so. And it's nice to believe that we can live in a world where that happens, but Magnus is the best player. There's no stopping that unless Magnus does a Bobby Fischer and he completely loses his mind and he retires and falls off the face of the earth. It's not going to be treated. The world champion is not going to be treated as the world champion. I don't care if Nepo wins. I don't care if Ding wins. Both of them will be very deserving of winning the match, but that will not make them the world champion in anybody's book. That's a simple reality.